Hello and welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I'm joined as always by my good friend Mike Luciano. Mike, how you doing, buddy? Is it officially? I don't think it's officially summer yet, but how are you doing on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon in the middle of June?
Well, it is. The sun is shining. It is 81 degrees. The wind is out to the north. It is a beautiful day over here down by the beach, and we got some Jets to talk with you because Aaron Rodgers finally has made a decision. The one we thought he was going to make for a couple weeks, months even.
Yep.
He's officially signed his Pittsburgh Steelers contract. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Zach Wilson because he gets me fired up a lot, and his fans get me fired up a lot. And he did something today that, oh boy, we got to talk about it. And we'll also go finish our AFC East preview because we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills and wrap that up after the last 2 weeks. We've done New England and Miami respectively. We'll do Buffalo, maybe do some extension talk. But no matter what we end up doing, thank you guys for tuning in. You can support the show in a couple different ways. You can go to Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. And on YouTube, subscribe. It's free. Helps the show. Like the stream. It's free. Helps the show. 99-cent membership is 99 cents. Helps the show. And you get top reply priority in the comments. So if you want to support the show, help us make more great content, that is the way that you can do that. Also, you can chat now. We still have that weird competitive ranked system now.
That's right.
Where if you chat the most in a given stream, you'll become the number one commenter. So last week it was Brian Sternbeck. We have a tie between John Mundock and Zachary Berner right now. We'll see who ends up taking that crown right now.
Keeping score? Do you have like a little thing you're keeping score on?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, I love this. I am a very competitive person, so I love gamifying everything and turning anything into a competition. This is great.
So we have that. Let's go and just jump right into Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers is the main topic of discussion. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler. After weeks of will he, won't he, when's it finally going to happen, he finally signs for a pretty cheap deal, which he said, I'll take a cheap deal. I just want to play one more year kind of thing. He's going to throw for about 800 yards when he plays the Jets in week one.
Stop.
I just have a bad feeling in my bones that that's going to happen. Looking at this, as we saw last year, Rodgers is not what he was, but also there are moments in there where he looks like old Aaron Rodgers. And I think there are enough moments of old Aaron Rodgers where the Steelers can feel comfortable in turning their offense over to him, mostly because they really didn't have any other options. They wanted Justin Fields back. Jets got him. They weren't too in on Russell Wilson, but he would have been, I think, a fine stopgap starter for a year, as the Giants were trying to do. Missed out into the Giants. So now they go get Rodgers because they were not going to go roll into the year with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard.
They wanted Matthew Stafford, too.
Or Matthew Stafford. They missed out on that.
Yep.
They were not going to go roll into the year with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard. There are some concerns. I get it because I don't know. He and Arthur Smith are going to mesh. I don't love their running game at all because right now it's Caleb Johnson and Jaylen Warren. And now, as we saw last year, even a Breece Hall-led run game can be kind of neutered with Aaron Rodgers. Who knows what a third-round rookie starting day one is really going to do.
Yep.
As Zachary Berner mentioned, their offensive line sucks. I wouldn't say sucks. I would say it's below average. I think that Broderick Jones got better. Troy Fautanu, if he's healthy, I think is going to be really good. I think Zach Frazier's a pretty good center. I think it's an okay offensive line. I don't think it's as good as the Jets are this year by any stretch of the imagination. I will say, though, the Jets fans may have to brace for a little bit of LOL Jets this year because I think that the Steelers are going to make the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers. I think they end up winning 11 games. Because while it would be hilarious if Mike Tomlin has 20 straight non-losing seasons in a row with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph and washed Big Ben and all these guys after Big Ben. And then Aaron Rodgers comes in, he's the guy who breaks it. That would be very funny. I think he has enough left in, especially with DK Metcalf around him as a wide receiver. I think that's going to be a huge addition for him. I think there's enough there where if he stays healthy, big if, as Rob Serafinowicz mentions, what are the chances he plays all 17 games? I don't think he does. But I think if he plays most of the 17 games, I think there's a very good chance that the Steelers make the playoffs and the Jets end up. I don't want to say look foolish. They're going to look foolish in the eyes of the media because they're going to be probably a not very good team with Justin Fields, and the Steelers will be in the playoffs or close to it with Aaron Rodgers. But The Steelers, I don't think will regret this decision as much as the Jets will, mostly because now they have a roadmap to learn from of what not to do with Aaron Rodgers that the Jets so happily provided for them.
I think you're definitely right about one thing. Jets fans should brace themselves for the LOL Jets comments. They're coming. It does not matter how well Aaron Rodgers does, unless he is the worst quarterback in football next year. They're going to be coming. Those LOL Jets comments, they are on the way.
As long as he's better statistically than Fields, there's going to be some LOL Jets.
I don't even think he needs to be. We got LOL Jets comments with Zach Wilson in training camp last year. Zach Wilson was the third string quarterback in Denver, and just Sean Payton talking about Zach Wilson was enough for people to be like, oh, LOL Jets, look, now he's in an actual stable environment. He's under a real coach, which fair. I mean, no one is saying that Nathaniel Hackett is the coach that Sean Payton is, especially with quarterbacks. But we already got those LOL Jets comments last year, and Zach Wilson didn't play in a game, and we'll get to how he's doing later. The Jets are gonna receive that negative media commentary, regardless of what Rodgers does this year. I don't think I'm quite as bullish on him and the Steelers as a whole as you are, though. I do think the funniest possible outcome, the funniest outcome is not Rodgers getting hurt. The funniest outcome is Rodgers playing all 17 games, being genuinely bad, and the Steelers, who have not had a losing record, I believe, in over 2 decades. I think it's like over 21 years or something like that.
Mike Tomlin hasn't ever had one.
Mike Tomlin's never had one. They have not had one since like 2004 or something like that. It would be really funny if, for all the quarterbacks they've had during that time, and Mike Tomlin got this team to a winning record with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. It would be amazing if Aaron Rodgers comes in and this is the first year that the Steelers finish with a sub 500 record. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm comfortable saying they might win like 9 games, I think, because much like Rob said, and much like Zachary and Chad is also mentioning, I do not trust that Aaron Rodgers will stay healthy behind this offensive line. The offensive line last year for the Jets was pretty good. I think most would agree it was a top 15 unit. You could argue at points it was top 10 later in the year once Olu Fashanu took over for Tyron Smith. I think the Steelers' offensive line is at best 18th to 20th in the league, roughly. I mean, some of that will depend on the progress Broderick Jones makes and what Troy Fautanu does in his second year. I think Zach Frazier is an excellent center. He had a really good rookie year, but their guards are a question mark, and I don't know what Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu bring as a tackle duo this year. So I have some concerns, and you're also looking at Aaron Rodgers' injury history. He has not had a fully healthy season since 2021. Was the last time that we saw Rodgers fully healthy for 17 games. Now, of course, he played all 17 games with the Jets last year, but anybody who watched Aaron Rodgers play last year will be the first to tell you he was not healthy.
He'll tell you that. The coaches will tell you that. Everybody will.
He should not have played all 17 games. In fact, it would have been better off for the Jets if Tyrod Taylor started a few of those games and they let Rodgers get healthy, because he was hobbled. He was very limited with his mobility. He had the thumb injury in 2022 with Green Bay that he played through it, but it significantly impacted his play. Of course, the torn Achilles in 2023, and then last year he had those multiple injuries. So we have not seen Rodgers fully healthy since 2021. And I'm not betting on Rodgers being healthy for a full 17-game stretch in 2025 at the age of 41, turning 42 this year, behind an offensive line that I think is below average. So that's my biggest concern. I do think the skill groups they got is pretty good. DK Metcalf, they don't have a ton behind DK Metcalf, but
Freiermuth as a tight end will be very good.
Right, but he's a fantastic player. Pat Freiermuth is a really good security blanket for him. Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson is a good running back duo. I'm not sure it's going to light the world on fire, but that's a good running back duo. I think they have enough pieces, and I think Arthur Smith is a good offensive coach. I don't know, he clearly was not a good head coach, but I do think he's a good enough play caller. Again, every offensive coordinator in the NFL gets shit, and not all of them are terrible. Some of them deserve it, Nathaniel Hackett, but not all of them. Mike LaFleur, not all of them.
Future Steelers senior offensive assistant Nathaniel Hackett.
Yes, I'm waiting for them to bring him off the staff, dude. It's good. He might go the way of Adam Gase though. Like if the Steelers don't bring him on, I wouldn't be shocked if we just don't hear Hackett's name in the coaching.
Well, that was what I was about to ask you. Do you think, with all the information you have now, Hackett ever coaches in the NFL again?
No. Unless he's brought on.
Not even a position coach, not even a running backs coach.
Unless he's brought on with the Steelers. I mean, I don't want to say, okay. I will say maybe with the caveat that I don't think it'll be in the next couple of years. I think if anything, he'll have to do what Gase did, which Gase didn't go. He coached at Alabama briefly. Isn't that what he was doing?
I think he was visiting there. I don't think he was ever in an official position. He hasn't had an official coaching position since he left the Jets.
No, then yeah. But I think he was hanging around with Saban or doing something in Alabama. I think I could see Hackett going the college route again, kind of like what Dole Loggins has done with South Carolina, where he goes there, is like maybe he's a quarterback's coach or a running back's coach or something like that, eventually becomes an OC, and then maybe he gets like a head coach opportunity in college. I don't think the NFL is going to be his career.
I think college will be good for him, that demeanor and everything, but
yeah,
he's probably just going to latch on in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers.
Not to wish this on,
Zachary Burner says, shoot Hackett into the sun.
Jesus Christ. I was going to say not to wish this on Syracuse fans, but he has experience. He's coached at Syracuse before. Maybe he goes there and he's like a quarterback's coach or something. I don't know what their current coaching situation is, but I could see that happening. But yeah, I think I'm not quite as bullish on Rodgers as you are, just because I don't trust him to stay healthy. That's the big thing with me.
Well, I get not trusting him to stay healthy, but even if you take that into account, like logic would dictate that the Steelers, who constantly win 9-10 games with well below average quarterback play, could win 12-13 with average quarterback play. I don't think they're going to be that good because Baltimore's in that division, Cincinnati's in that division. I think that's tough. And obviously Rodgers is just not what he was, but maybe I'm a Mike Tomlin chill. I'm just such a Mike Tomlin guy. I find it hard to believe, even in this state, that Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin are not going to at least sneak into the play. Maybe they make it as the 6th seed and then they get annihilated by Baltimore or Buffalo or whoever. But I still think that's a realistic possibility right there. And it's better than not making the playoffs with Mason Rudolph.
I do wonder how much better, because I would say last year they got relatively league average to slightly below average quarterback play. I think Russell Wilson was fine. Justin Fields was fine-ish. If you wanted to say they were anywhere in that 16 to 22 range of quarterbacks, I think that was a reasonable, what the Steelers as a whole got from their quarterback room in 2024. I don't know how much better Rodgers is going to be, than that at this.
Well, they started off 9-3 or something like that, and then everything fell apart at the end.
Yeah, they finished 10-7. I don't know. I could see them doing roughly the same with Rodgers. I don't fully trust him to stay healthy. So if I'm betting on it right now, I don't think Rodgers plays more than 10 or 11 games healthy in 2025. Maybe he forces his way to play through those injuries like he did last year with the Jets when he probably shouldn't be. But I don't think we're going to see a fully healthy Rodgers. Because look, Jets fans know who watched Rodgers last year. There were games when Aaron, later in the year, that Jacksonville game, when Rodgers looked very good because he was healthy. He was playing a shitty defense. It was nice weather, and he wasn't dealing with the lingering leg injuries that he was dealing with for most of the year. I just don't know how often we're going to see those perfect conditions for Rodgers in 2025. And as we just saw this past year, when it isn't perfect conditions for him at this stage, he's a shell of what he once was. And I don't even know if he'd be better than what the Steelers got from Russell Wilson for a lot of last year. That would be my concern.
The question I have now is, do you think the Jets trade Allen Lazard to Pittsburgh specifically?
I think they're not going to just give him up, but it makes so much sense that I would not be shocked at all if it happens. I don't know at all what the Jets asking price would be, but I imagine it would be some form of conditional day 3 capital. I don't think they're going to just be like, oh, we'll give him up for a conditional 7th round pick. That are the conditions are hard to meet. But if they can get a 5th or a 6th round pick somehow out of this, then they got a 5th for Mike Williams last year, and Mike Williams did absolutely nothing with the Jets, and he did basically nothing with the Steelers. There's no reason why, if Rodgers isn't pushing for it, they can't get Allen Lazard. I do think, though, there was a report. Take it with a grain of salt. Who knows how true it is, but it was a report from Pro Football Talk that was kind of hinting at Lazard not wanting to play with Rodgers this year, and more so wanting to stand on his own 2 feet and prove that he can play without Rodgers, and that he thinks he can.
Well, we've seen how that went.
And he thinks he can, I don't know about thrive.
How old is Lazard? He's 29?
28, 29, somewhere around, probably 29, I guess.
He's 29.
Yeah. I think at
this point, he's going to turn 30 in December. You're a known quantity at this point.
The other part of it is, though, if he goes to Pittsburgh, I guess, is he wide receiver 2 if he goes to Pittsburgh? It's either him or Robert Woods?
Calvin Austin?
Calvin Austin, I guess, but Austin's
he might be. Supposedly they have big plans for Roman Wilson, but he was hurt all last year. I don't know, but I've interviewed him, by the way. He's a super cool guy, Roman Wilson.
Roman Wilson, that's good to hear. I liked him coming out of college. But yeah, I don't know. I think it makes sense for him to want to stay in New York, though, because he will likely be wide receiver 2 here. Maybe Josh Reynolds, but 2024 was basically a wash for Reynolds, so it's hard to know what to expect. And I do think he fits what they're looking for with the wide receiver position right now, especially the blocking archetype that they continue to emphasize. I think he could have a decent season with the Jets, and if he can show that he could do it away from Aaron Rodgers and not in the Rodgers vortex, maybe he could parlay that into another I mean, it's not going to be.
Yeah, but what contract is he getting? Is he going to get from a 700-yard season at age 30?
I mean, it's not going to be the 4-year, $44 million contract he signed with the Jets, but I could see it being something that more so extends his career as opposed to if he goes to Pittsburgh, struggles to make headway, Rodgers gets hurt again. What does he do now? Like, I don't know if he even gets a job after that.
To Lazard's defense, says Zachary Berner, all his other quarterbacks are trash besides Aaron Rodgers. Well, he's also had Rodgers for most of his career, so.
Yeah, I mean, he had Rodgers last year.
Then he had Zach Wilson for that little bit.
He had Rodgers last year, and he led the NFL in drop rate. I mean,
he also had 6 touchdowns in like 10 years.
No, I mean, last year was more akin to what the Jets hoped they were getting from Alan Lazard. He was inconsistent, but fine. Like, he offered value in certain aspects, which he didn't offer really any value.
2023 was a complete zero. He at least looked like a real player last year.
You could have thrown Jason Brownlee out there in 2023 and gotten probably similar, if not better, production from Alan Lazard.
Zachary also says, when do DK and AR have their first fight?
It will be interesting.
But Aaron Rodgers is a confident man. If he tries to fight DK Metcalf.
Well, okay, not physically. I don't think he meant physically.
I'm just saying, if he's thinking physically, I don't know.
There are very few players in the NFL who physically would be able to fight DK Metcalf, and I don't think.
Do you ever see that interview with, I think it was Kevin Garnett, where he was like, what do you eat a day? He's like, I eat like a couple cups of coffee and a big bag of gummy bears in like one meal. And he looks like that. It's like, genetics are amazing, man.
I do wonder. I think DK will be happy as long as he's getting the ball. And looking at the pass catchers in that Steelers offense, there is no reason why he should not be getting the ball a lot, unless Alan Lazard comes to Pittsburgh and all of a sudden, boom, now Alan Lazard is his top target. And hey, let's get Randall Cobb out of retirement. Let's go wild.
No, I was gonna say Jermichael Finley, but he hates Rodgers. So
yeah, no, he is like one of the few receivers who Rodgers played with who actually like despises him.
Yeah. Greg Jennings seems like mildly indifferent, I would say. Like he has some problems, but kind of likes him as a dude. Jermichael Finley's like, I hate Aaron Rodgers.
On record saying he hates Rodgers, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of made your whole career, Jermichael. Okay, what'd you do without Aaron Rodgers in your career? Nothing?
Did Jermichael Finley play with a team that wasn't the Packers?
No.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think he only played with Rodgers, too.
Well, yeah, probably. I mean, he wasn't playing before or after Rodgers, so.
Yeah, so I don't know. And he got a ring with him. I don't know what the beef is with him, but I know what I have who I have beef with. That's Zach Wilson.
Let's talk about him.
Okay. Zach Wilson, who apparently is being tagged by everybody to succeed now that he's away from the Jets because he's away from the Jets. Went to Denver last year and he got a lot of praise for being good. Guess what? Ugats, no playing time. None at all. I don't even think he was active ever.
I think he may have been active late.
Maybe one game at the end. I don't know. But
they might have done it as a thing to like get him game checks,
Yeah, like some sort of financial technicality kind of thing.
Yeah.
When he signs with the Dolphins, somehow is probably going to be the backup instead of Quinn Ewers, who I think would be a better choice to be the backup.
Yes.
Wilson supposedly is struggling in Mike McDaniel's timing-based offense.
What a shock.
Now, I thought he'd be better because I'm like, well, Mike McDaniel's so creative, just he'll raise your floor, but the timing is so important to it. Zach Wilson, as we know, struggles with timing.
Yep, and accuracy.
He's thrown 2 interceptions. He had a really bad practice. He throws 2 interceptions, almost threw a third one.
One of them was a pick six.
One of them was a pick six, too.
One dropped interception also should have been a pick six, according to reporters.
Then he says, I couldn't even think this up when he said it. I got to get it up to get like properly mad at it. Now, again, this was just a guy, maybe he got misquoted to give the overwhelming, incredibly naive benefit of the doubt.
This is not a direct quote. This is a aggregation of a quote by Joe Shad, who's a Dolphins beat reporter.
Zach Wilson apparently explained for the first time in his life, high school BYU Jets Broncos, in his life, that he's been late on some of these throws. He's been told. First time.
That's what he apparently.
Zachary Berner, Miami has no cornerback and he's getting picked off. That's funny. Yes, it is.
I know. One of the guys that dropped it was Ethan Bonner, who we established was the third best white cornerback in the NFL.
I think I went to high school with a kid named Ethan Bonner. But Wilson, you don't want to get into this territory, but he's getting to this point. I'm really starting to dislike him. Like, outside of that, we're getting to a point because all of the big quotes I'll remember from Zach Wilson, because he's not a very quotable guy, it's always very conniving, very blaming other people. I didn't let the defense down. I don't want to play. I was in a bad situation. I've never been told late. Not me, not me, not me, not me. Accountability for once out of this guy. Like the gall to say that, which I know is not true. You can make fun of the Jets, but also Sean Payton. You don't think Sean Payton ever said you're late on a throw? Sean Payton never corrected Zach Wilson. Good Lord. NY Jets, Florida. Jets handle criticism internally. Possibly, but then also there was never any accountability for it. So criticism without accountability doesn't really do anything with it. But I don't know if it's arrogance, because he's not even speaking from a point of arrogance right now, because he's sucked his whole career, and then he went to be a third string and a backup, so it's not arrogance. Aaron Rodgers may have arrogance sometimes, but he's also, a 4-time MVP and a future Hall of Famer. You're allowed a little bit of that. This guy's done nothing, and it's apparently everybody else's fault. We're going into year 5 of this. Like, when's it gonna end with this guy? The in my life is what got me. The Jets had his personal quarterback coach on staff his rookie year, a LaFleur brother, offensive. You think a guy who's Mike LaFleur. Mm-hmm. You think a guy from that family is not correcting Zach Wilson? You're laying on some throws here, buddy. BYU never did that. Denver never did that. This is the first time you're hearing any of this criticism, and it really hurt my feelings, guy. Wow. I'm sorry. It really opened my eyes. This is how you play quarterback. I mean, for crying out loud. As Mustard Overload says, if somebody tells me a prospect is raw, you better be like Josh Allen, and he isn't raw, he's bad, referring to when Wilson came out as a prospect.
Yeah.
I think we're past that point of evaluating him as a prospect. You're evaluating him as an NFL quarterback, as an NFL quarterback, and he just comes out with these quotes that if a guy who's been a starter for 10 years in the league said, I've never been told I was playing that poorly, you'd say, oh, what's wrong with you, man? Year 5 of sucking, you've never heard any criticism. Either that's a lie or you're tuning it out and you're not listening to your coaches. One of those two. And I don't think he's a liar, so I think he's tuning out people and he's uncoachable.
You good? You got all that off your chest? I know.
Like unearned arrogance. What has Zach Wilson done in this point to speak all high and mighty about like this? Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it just comes out to me as like I thought I was doing everything perfectly and the Jets screwed me up. That's how this came off to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't read too much into an aggregation of a quote without seeing the quote itself or the video of him speaking. So I'm not gonna I can't claim arrogance here. I'm not gonna do that. You can do that. I'm not gonna do that. But I will say, if he did say that this is the first time in his life that he's hearing that he's late on some throws, I'm going to just call bullshit. I'm going to say that that's entirely not true. Remember his rookie season, and the Jets, obviously they had to deal with the unfortunate passing of Greg Knapp, but the Jets went above and beyond to bring as many voices into that quarterback room as they could. They brought in Matt Cavanaugh. They brought in Zach Wilson's personal QB coach in John Beck. They brought him in and hired him to their staff. And you're telling me not one of Cavanaugh, not one of John Beck, not one of Mike LaFleur, no, nobody that was on the team at that time, not a single staff member was like, you were a little late on that one throw. No one has ever said that.
Justin, you're like this. Ben Solak had a funny tweet about that quote. And a reply, I got to give to Cal Draco 4.
Okay.
He's so late. There's some reads from BYU he hasn't gotten around to yet.
That's such a dad joke, but I love
That's a good one.
That is a good dad joke. Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Obviously, I refuse to believe that he's not heard that, and it really just underscores what were the Dolphins expecting when they hired or when they signed Zach Wilson? They gave him $6 million, fully guaranteed $6 million to be their backup quarterback this year. The only competition that he has is a 7th round pick in Quinn Ewers, who you and I both agree is probably a better fit for this scheme and is probably going to perform better in a Mike McDaniel offense than Zach Wilson. And I am not a Quinn Ewers fan. I mean, 7th round, I feel like he could have been like a 5th round pick. 7th round, maybe.
5th would even better. I had him firmly as like a 4th round guy, but still.
Yeah, it's fine. An early day 3 guy, whatever. Your expectations for him are limited, but I do think he actually fits decently well in a Mike McDaniel scheme. I could not have imagined, I know we talked about this when the Dolphins signed Zach Wilson initially. I could not have imagined a worse quarterback for this kind of an offense than Zach Wilson, an offense that is predicated on not only timing, but anticipation, on accuracy. Those are literally his weakest qualities. If you can point to some things that Zach
and being a good teammate, that's his main weak quality.
I'm not gonna go the personal stuff. I don't know the guy personally, but
look, I don't want to get into that, but like also, I mean, we were around for those teams. Was there not just this feeling of joy on the team when they got benched in that second year?
It would have been very funny if the Dolphins.
It felt very freeing after I didn't let the defense down.
Yeah, it would have been really funny if the Dolphins had kept Mike White, and then they had a situation where Mike White did the same thing to Zach Wilson again, and Zach Wilson was brought in to be the backup to beat out Mike White, who sucked in Miami. And White ended up taking over in the locker room rally behind him. It would have been really funny. But hey, I'm not shocked at all that he's struggling in that same practice. I believe he also had a pass batted down, or a screen pass that was batted down. He had he took a bad sack that he shouldn't have taken. There was a whole report about it. Like,
yep, sounds like Zach Wilson.
But in that same report, you know what else was emphasized? It was like, wow, this guy's arm talent is for real. Well, no shit.
Yeah.
Overall. And Mike McDaniel said he had supreme arm talent. A bunch of Dolphins beat reporters that I follow were saying similar stuff where they're like, man, this guy's got a live arm. If only he could figure out the other stuff. Boy, oh boy. Do I got
some in year 5 of that?
Do I have 4 years of film at the NFL level to show you exactly what you're saying?
3 because he didn't play at all.
Pretty true, sure. Or apparently he was lighting it up when the Broncos last summer, but who knows? But yeah,
not that much. He never played.
I shudder to think of the fact, or from a Dolphins perspective, I shudder to think of the idea of Tua Tagovailoa missing time due to injury. And we know, once again, that's the other part of this that's crazy to me, is that you have arguably the most injury-prone quarterback in the NFL, a guy who has dealt with injuries his entire career and could be one concussion away from a very serious issue. And you bring in not only just as a caliber player, Zach Wilson is not a backup caliber quarterback, but he's a quarterback who is the worst possible fit for your scheme. I am floored by the Dolphins. I'm floored by how the Dolphins have handled their backup quarterback situation over the last years. For years, it's been egregiously bad, despite the fact that they have a quarterback who, again, has struggled with a lot of injuries. I genuinely don't understand it. But yeah, now Zach Wilson's there and he's struggling, and I don't think anyone's surprised. And yeah, as for this quote, again, I can't speak too much for it because I haven't heard him say it. But I will just say, if that is something he said, that is complete bullshit, and he has definitely heard that. I think that the tweet that I put out was he wearing earplugs in all of those film sessions? Because I assure you that Zach Wilson has sat in on many film sessions where he's been told, hey, Zach, got to get the ball out quicker. You're late on somebody's throws. Like, that is like an extremely common criticism of his game.
The most. Yeah. Zachary Berner, Zach Wilson's mind of the game can't be coached, I think. Saying that, he just doesn't get it process-wise.
And some guys, that's the case.
Some guys can't.
I think we saw that a lot in New York. I don't think that's totally inaccurate take.
Brian Sternbeck, I would love to see that live arm at MetLife this year. Zach Wilson succeeding with Miami would make me a lot more upset than Aaron Rodgers succeeding in Pittsburgh.
I would be so jaded if that happened. Like, I'd be like, well, nothing matters. Clearly.
That would make me give up. If he's average, but if he's like really good, like 90-ish passer rating,
just throwing logic out the window at that point.
It's like, all right, nothing matters. It'll never work.
Yeah, the Jets could sign Patrick Mahomes. They could trade for Mahomes, and he would suck. Like that.
They could get Aaron Rodgers, and it won't work. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Not only it won't work, but it won't work in the worst way.
Yeah.
Mustard overload. Hot take. The Zach Wilson pickup was a stealth tanking move by Miami. Tua medically retires. They put in Zach and get the number 1 pick. It's genius.
Maybe, man. We'll see. I don't know. This is their way of tanking for Arch. I hope.
Or Lenoris Sellers.
I hope that doesn't happen for Tua's sake. You know, I obviously am a Jets fan, but I don't want to see Tua Tagovailoa medically retire. I do want to see him stay healthy, but they are in rough shape if Tua does miss time this year. That's for sure.
Zachary Berner, I'm happy with Tyrod Taylor. Yes, I am too.
I mean, there's obviously the injury concerns with Tyrod, but you know that if he's stepping into your starting lineup and he's starting for a few games, you're going to hold down the fort. Like he's going to be fine. I fully trust Tyrod Taylor to start 4 games and you to be competitive in all 4 of them, assuming you're not against like the Chiefs or something like that.
Before we move on to our next segment, too, like I don't want to like keep harping on this, but like, and I get that Justin Fields has had a lot more success in the NFL than Zach Wilson, as limited as Justin Fields.
Yeah, a lot is a strong phrase. But
compare and contrast the quotes from Justin Fields to Garrett Wilson in terms of humility.
Again, we're not in the locker room, so I can't speak to it fully, but I think it's clear, at least from an outsider's perspective, my read on the situation is players kind of look at Justin Fields more so as one of the guys. Like
they love him, supposedly, the Jets.
The Steelers teammates loved him as well. A lot of Steelers players wanted Fields back, and that says a lot for a guy who started 6 games for them last year, and that was his only year he spent in Pittsburgh. They wanted him back over Russell Wilson. I don't think Zach Wilson has ever gotten that degree of outcry of support from his teammates.
And then last one before we move on, Brian Sternbeck, Greer's got to be a goner with another losing record, right? I bet. I think if they blow it up this year, I think McDaniel's gone, Greer's gone. It's like full-on rebuild.
He has to have some dirt on Stephen Ross for staying in Miami as long as he has, Chris.
How long has he been in Miami?
Oh, way too long. Way too long.
God, 2016 he got hired.
26. He's been the GM for a decade.
26. He's been with the team in various roles since 2000, and then GM in 2016.
That's what it is. He knows Stephen Ross. He's the ultimate like nepo hire there for like a GM, right? Like
assistant director of college scouting, director of college scouting, internal promotion.
What's so funny is people talk all about how it took Joe Douglas until the year he was fired to build an offensive line. Chris Greer's on year 10, and it still sucks. They're all like,
to be fair, didn't he try to like pay Tom Brady to be an owner and the quarterback at one point? Wasn't that a whole thing?
I mean, I know Stephen Ross was also meddling and trying to get Deshaun Watson, and there was the whole. I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, look, Chris Greer is there, I think, because he does Stephen Ross's bidding. He is the yes man, I guess, for Stephen Ross. But it's mind-boggling that he has been there as long as he has with as little success as they found. And they haven't even been making progress. Like, it's been the same issue every year with them.
He was the head coach when Gase came in. Oh, yeah.
Wild. How has he gotten to hire 3 different head coaches?
And the best one he fired because of personal problems. Him and Brian Flores didn't get along. Flores was the best one.
Yeah, I guess. I guess Flores was probably better than McDaniel. He did more with less. He did a lot more with less.
I mean, that first year, not to make this the Dolphin Press podcast, but that first year, remember they were literally, I think they were 0-7 on Monday night, and then I think they beat the Jets to break the winless streak or something.
I feel very
comfortable. But I remember that year, they were Monday night against the Steelers. They were 0-7. This was the tanking year with Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen. Mm-hmm. And they had a segment, and they go, or what the Dolphins doing, is it ethical? They're trying to lose games like that. That's how bad they were. And then
they still won some games. I feel very comfortable shitting on the Dolphins because they might have the worst vibes, maybe outside of like the Browns, but they got to be like bottom 3 teams right now in terms of vibes. Their fan base hates this team. They just want to see
the Browns going in. There's like no shot with 4 quarterbacks. The Dolphins there might be something
because the Dolphins are in this weird middle ground where they're trying to compete. And like you said, everyone's on the hot seat. McDaniel and Greer have to win this. I mean, I assume Greer has to win. I don't know. Maybe he gets to hire another head coach.
Maybe he's Commandante for life. I don't know.
Yeah, but McDaniel for sure has to win this year, or else they're gone. But the roster is just not good enough. Like the team isn't good enough. And everyone knows that. Everyone in the fan base knows it. So they're going in and they're like, well, shit, Cam Smith is probably going to be our top cornerback. We're starting, whoever. And we're starting me on the offensive line. And this team just isn't good enough. But they have to win. They're in a bad spot.
Let's get back to the Jets and let's talk about some extensions that may happen soon because Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson are both at camp, which I'm very happy about. Mm-hmm. Neither of them have an extension. I'd imagine one is coming relatively soon. We talked about this a while ago in terms of just kind of figuring out numbers for what's going to happen. And I'm not sure what the numbers are going to look like right now. If I had to guess right now, I'm saying Sauce is probably a little bit more than the highest paid, just like so he can nominally be the highest paid cornerback. I don't think it'll be some sort of Jamar Chase reset the market to a crazy degree contract, especially off last year. And I think if they give Garrett Wilson kind of what Brandon Ayuk got, like $30 million a year flat, maybe a little bit more than $30 million a year flat, I think that'll satisfy everybody. One thing I'm encouraged about, though, Justin, I want to let you kind of take the floor on this too, is the fact that I think they could have made a stink, but they're still here. I think that says something. I think if this was Robert Saleh, like if this was just a holdover from last year, and they're in the same situation, I think they probably don't show up and they try to force a deal. I think there is something to be said for Aaron Glenn where they're all here and they're all working.
I think it's built on mutual trust. I think that's where this comes from. I don't think Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, look, they have been, say what you want about Sauce Gardner and, he tweets too much or whatever. Like, I think Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson have been absolute model teammates in every possible way. And I can't imagine, them of handling the adversity that they've faced over the last few years better than they have. So credit to them for that and staying true to, hey, we want to be Jets for life. Well, they show up for minicamp. They're showing up for voluntary practices. They're doing all the right things. They're putting their money where their mouth is. But I think part of it, again, is also built on that mutual trust. I think they're in a place right now where they feel, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but this is my read on it. I think they feel pretty comfortable that a deal is going to get done. I think both of them feel that way. I mean,
that had to be objective number one for Darren Muji, was locking up these two.
I don't think that Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson would be at minicamp right now, or at least they definitely wouldn't have been at voluntary OTAs. I know Sauce missed like one OTA practice, but he was there for other ones, and I don't think Garrett missed any of them. I don't think they would be as all in as they are right now if they weren't reasonably confident that a deal was going to get done before the season starts. So that tells me the Jets have had positive conversations with them too, and that the extension talks have progressed, which is honestly the biggest takeaway for me, even more so than the culture aspect of it. Like, oh, Jets players are bought on Aaron Glenn. Really, this just tells me, okay, they've made progress and they feel confident that a deal will be reached. I hope that deal for both players is before training camp. I feel reasonably confident that, especially for Sauce Gardner, I would be very surprised if the Jets did not extend Sauce Gardner before week 1. And I'd be mildly surprised if they didn't extend Garrett Wilson before week 1. I hope they're done by training camp, but them being here at minicamp is a big, positive, encouraging sign for me for multiple reasons.
And looking at these extensions too, the thing that I think is really going to set this team apart is building internally, obviously.
Of course.
And really, I think the only two pillars that you have to build on right now are Sauce and Garrett, because everybody's just saying, because we've talked about this before, Jermaine Johnson, I really do not want to give him an extension right now. As good as he is, like,
you can't now, not coming off the Achilles.
Not now, not with it. And I think, honestly, if the Jets, if they're happy with Fields as their quarterback, I really think that the first-round pick next year is probably going to be a pass rusher. Because I think this is also a pretty deep pass rush class. I think that it's just a really good draft for that. And then you get Hall on top of that, who they don't even know if he's going to be in a committee at this point. I think because Braylon Allen's getting some real hype. There's also some good quotes from Vacciano. I don't know if you've seen that before. Just recently came out.
Yeah, where Hall was talking about.
I'm not obligated to anything. I got to go prove him a 3-down back.
Yeah, it's good. That's the right mindset to have.
Yeah, I mean, I like that, but I also think that might be signaling, all right, maybe that they really want to move ahead with this committee thing, that they really want to give Braylon Allen a lot of rope. So because of that, everything hinges on Sauce and Garrett getting done. If this doesn't get done, pretty soonish, that is a major problem for Darren Muji. Because this should be on paper as slam dunk and easy extension move as possible. And if he doesn't get that done, doesn't that feel like a McCagnon thing to not get these things done?
Yeah.
I'm sticking to my price and like that.
Not to make this the Dolphins press, but it feels like a Chris Greer thing too. That's the Dolphins are the kings of developing young talent and letting those guys walk before they get second contracts.
Well, the Patriots do that too, and then everybody the Patriots.
Well, the Patriots do it, and those players don't do as well. The Dolphins do it, and the Christian Wilkins of the world walk, and Javon Hollins of the world walk.
The Jets kind of do that too sometimes. I mean,
sometimes
Demario Davis.
Yeah, Demario Davis. That's one of them. But they did it with Bryce Huff, and that's worked out.
They did do it with Bryce Huff, and that's worked out.
As Brian says, not to be a downer, but trust can fall apart quickly. See the Bengals. Absolutely.
Oh, with Trey Hendrickson, yeah.
That's a situation. Well, the Bengals are a unique case where a lot of that, I don't even know how much of that comes from their front office and how much of it is directive from ownership.
And they made the decision I hope the Jets don't make, which is they paid kind of their Jermaine Johnson, I think, was T. Higgins of like the third guy from that class you want to pay. Then they paid Higgins, but Burrow you obviously pay. Chase you obviously pay. Then you pay Higgins, and then you can't pay Hendrickson. So I think they just got their priorities out of order. That's what I'm hoping the Jets don't do, and they order things and tier things the right way with these extensions.
That's why, like you said, this is a really important time for Darren Mooney. I know it's his first year. He's only been here a few months, but you can't let these negotiations sour. You have to get these deals done really this summer. I don't think this is a situation where either should be dragging out into the regular season, let alone into next offseason. I think you got to get these done ASAP, set the tone right, come in and lock up your cornerstone pieces and build upon that or that trust. Because if Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson are willing to show up to minicamp and do all the right things and get all this positive press, because let's be honest, some of this is always a PR game. And right now, Jets fans love Sauce Gardner.
You know how much Jets love to win the PR game, Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, Jets fans love Garrett Wilson, and they mostly love Sauce Gardner as well, and they should for showing up to minicamp and doing things the quote unquote right way. The Jets need to reward them as well. They need to put their money where their mouth is, just like the players are doing that. And I feel confident that will get done. Like you said, I think the numbers for Sauce Gardner should be relatively simple. I don't know what the sticking points will end up being, but it shouldn't be a hard extension to work out. You just saw Derek Stingley get that $90 million deal. He's making $30 million a year. Sauce Gardner will probably top that. Not by too much. I don't think he's going to be making $34, $35 million a year, but he will likely top that. I don't know how long they'll make it. I mean, Stingley only went 3 years, which that's an interesting approach there.
And then he got basically all of it guaranteed, though.
Right. So I don't know what Sauce is going to want with his deal, but I can't imagine it's going to be vastly different than what Stingley's deal is. So you have a framework there. And then honestly,
I think they know they kind of got the Jets over a barrel here too with that. No, you're really not going to pay Sauce Gardner.
Right. Well, that they have some leverage, and that's fine. But
don't bring that word back up from the dregs.
Sorry, I brought the L word back. That's my mistake.
I'm actively trying to not use leverage language.
I used it over a barrel instead. Weirdly, it's both players, both Sauce and Garrett. I think the sweet spot for them is going to be right around like 30 to 31 million a year. I think they're both going to make roughly the same. Which is interesting because they'll honestly be competing with each other for the highest paid player in Jets history, probably. Because I think right now that's Quinnen Williams. I think has that title. But they're obviously different positions. Corner, wide receiver are different. Garrett's not going to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL because he's not making over $40 million a year, which is what Jamar Chase is currently making. But I think roughly in that $30 to $32 million range, which is realistically around where Amon-Ra St. Brown is and DK Metcalf and AJ Brown. Like I think that is probably the tier you're looking at for Garrett. He doesn't have the accolades to back it up that Sauce does. So that could work in a Jets' favor. And that's kind of why I could see it getting dragged out a little bit more. With Sauce, it's easy. It's like 2-time first-team All-Pro. He's clearly a top 3 corner in the NFL. Whereas Garrett Wilson, he was Offensive Rookie of the Year, but he hasn't made a Pro Bowl, hasn't made an All-Pro team. He's got 1,000 yards every year, but he doesn't have the accolades as much. So I do wonder what the pause would be with there. Mike, I saw you smiling and smirking. What's up? What are you laughing about?
Nothing.
Okay.
You reading too much into stuff, or
am I reading too much? You were smirking. I thought you
just like doing the Jet Press podcast. You got a problem?
I thought you had something to share with the class. I don't know. That's what I was asking.
I was actually just reading through chat. I was smirking.
Oh, okay. Funny chats.
There were some funny chats, yes.
Okay.
But I'm not going to put some of them on the.
Sure.
On the screen.
Sure, that's fine.
Let's move on to our AFC East final preview, where we talk about the Buffalo. All right.
Hello.
Hey, it's a Buffalo.
Jesus Christ.
Buffalo Bills. Okay.
No.
It's a Buffalo. Okay.
Let's talk Bills.
All right, let's talk about the Bills. I don't know why that came out like that, as we are getting quite delirious here in the June heat.
You're in a good mood today. You're giddy.
I guess so, yeah. I'm positively.
Yeah.
Now let's go on to the Bills, who are projected to just honestly annihilate this division. This division went from pretty deep to terrible very quickly.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the weaker divisions, I think, in football, except for Buffalo. Now, while it is funny how they keep losing to the Chiefs in the play, I think that's 4 years in a row now. Kansas City, over and over and over and over again. I think this might be the year. I don't know if they break through. I really hope Lamar Jackson breaks through. I want to see him get to one.
I want to see one, and like I know I don't want to be a Bills stan here. I want to see one of Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen do it. Like I want to see one of them do it because the only one we've seen so far is Joe Burrow. I want to see another.
Mahomes hasn't. He's been to 5. He's got 3. That's more than enough.
Yeah,
that is more than enough. I think they have the pieces to do it this year, even though Allen got his fake, unbelievable, ridiculous, woke MVP award that he got last year, despite the fact Lamar Jackson was an all-pro and had better numbers. They somehow gave him the MVP. I don't know how that worked out, but it did.
I'm okay with it because Lamar won MVP the year before, and he really probably shouldn't have. He didn't really have the numbers to win MVP the year before.
Well, who should have last year? Who should have that year?
Not Allen, but it
would have been Dak then, too.
Dak is probably who should have won it, which is crazy to say.
Can you imagine that if what would happen to the networks if Dak won an MVP?
Dak won it. Oh my! Well, 2020, it's dumb because 2023 there really wasn't a player that deserved MVP, at least a quarterback that deserved MVP. 2024 there were 2, so it's just unfortunate.
So looking at Buffalo, though, the thing that I like about the Bills this year, though, as you hear an extremely loud motorcycle fly by concerning speeds right next to the highway where my apartment is.
Those Jersey bikers, man.
I hope that guy's going minimum 100 miles an hour. The thing I like this year is for years the problem was like everybody talks about their skill position group. It's not that good. I like it more than most. Like if James Cook plays and Ray Davis keeps developing, that's a great 1-2 punch in the backfield. You know my thoughts on Keon Coleman. I think he'll be in for an even bigger year this year. He'll be number 2. I think Khalil Shakir is incredibly underrated.
Yes, I'm with you on Shakir.
I think Shakir is incredibly underrated. Josh Palmer, I think, picked a good landing spot for him.
And a good contract, 3 years, $29 million. That's
not bad for this wide receiver market. It's not bad. Offensive line, pretty okay, I'd say.
That is less than what the Jets, like significantly less than what the Jets paid Allen Lazard a couple of years ago. The receiver market has only exploded since then, and I think Palmer's better than Allen Lazard.
That's the problem with the way Buffalo is discussed. Is everybody talks about is Josh Allen doing everything by himself? Like that. Remember the MVP debate? Oh, Lamar Jackson got Derrick Henry, and Josh Allen's doing it all himself. Well, I don't think Josh Allen's offense is really as bereft of talent as everybody's making it seem. And I think that's really gonna.
It wasn't great last.
Some problems for the Jets.
I don't think it was great last year. I'm very bullish on the Josh Palmer edition. I'm a big fan of Palmer. That is somebody who I wanted for the Jets, and I think he would have fit what they were doing with their free agent approach this year. But clearly, I mean, if he's taken 3 years, $29 million to go to the Bills, like he just wanted to go to the Bills. I imagine he probably had better offers out there. But I don't mind their wide receiver room now. Palmer and Shakir are 2 very solid players, honestly similar in a lot of ways. Curtis Samuel's fine. I'm not a Keon Coleman fan, but I'm happy. Like he stylistically is very different than every other receiver they have in that room, which is a good spot for him to be in. Like he is so clearly going to be there, go up and get it, jump ball receiver. Now, can he actually do that consistently at the NFL level? I don't know. He didn't do it consistently at Florida State, and I haven't seen him do it consistently in the NFL. But I think he could be there.
Take lessons from Javon Baker.
Hey man, listen, I'm not batting 100%. No one bats 100%. That's okay.
Well, I am. I've never had a wrong take ever.
Oh, I think we should keep tallies on how many wrong takes all of us. Actually, no, we shouldn't because no one's gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch every show we've done for years.
We've done too many. Be there, like I mean, not to say this is a desirable role, but he can be that Allen Lazard type where he's a super inconsistent role player who is able to make some highlight reel catches, can bring down, can be a
600 yards as a rookie. Isn't Lazard kind of selling him short for what he could, especially if they're going to throw the ball a lot and he's going to get wide receiver 2 targets? I think he's going to be second on the team in targets.
I want to look up some of this stuff
above Kincaid, above Palmer.
I don't think he's going to be above Palmer. I think Palmer is going to be a bigger part of that offense than Keon Coleman. I'm not a big Keon. Let me see. I want to see.
Elijah Moore's on the Bills. I must have missed that.
Yeah,
one.
Elijah Moore's hanging out there too. What was his drop?
Zachary Berner, to tide you over. If we beat the Bills in week 2 at home, what will your reaction be? I'll be the most delirious, happy Jets fan ever.
I'll be stoked. They'll probably
especially because the concerning part I have is when Josh Allen last played Aaron Glenn's defense, he had like 9,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Saleh's defense always used to frustrate him. Aaron Glenn's does not. So if they somehow manage to pull that off, especially after a Steelers game against Aaron Rodgers where I don't know if they win it now that the Rodgers signing is confirmed. I mean, I'd be thrilled, especially with how tough the schedule is to start the season.
The reason I compare Keon Coleman to Allen Lazard is the drops were again an issue last year. He had a 13.5% drop rate. Once again, he's supposed to be a contested catch receiver. He caught 36% of his contested catch opportunities. He had a 28 overall ESPN catch score and a 42 overall ESPN wide receiver score. I don't think the underlying numbers, and I don't think his film, from what I watched of him, I don't think it's nearly as good as, I mean, I think the box score numbers were fine. By the way, Quentin Johnson had a 0 catch score, which is actually unbelievable.
He's so bad.
That's hilarious.
I thought he'd be okay. I don't think no one predicted this.
He's not Quentin Johnston, but he's in the same archetype of a player who I think his biggest trait is his big play contested catch ability, and he's not consistent enough at doing that for him to have a consistently positive role in the offense. I think he's a solid role player who has a role as being that jump ball red zone threat, but he's not consistent enough at it to be, a guy who I think is a number 2 target in an offense. I don't think he is, but I don't think he's going to be that for Buffalo. I think he's going to be their 3rd or 4th passing target. Honestly, I think he's going to be their 4th. I think he'll be their 4th most targeted player in that offense behind both Shakir and Palmer and behind Kincaid. And honestly, maybe he ends up behind Cook too. I don't think he's going to be a major piece of that offense. Maybe I'm underselling him, but I'm not super high on Keon Coleman.
Brian Sternbeck, Javon Baker, and Malachi Corley should start a podcast called View from the Bench and shout out their teams.
Oh my God, Javon Baker, he has to be better than Malachi Corley.
Well, he's like wide receiver 17 on their depth chart now too.
The Patriots also have like 15 first or second year wide
Diggs and Kyle Williams and Polk and who also wasn't good. And
the Patriots are like they have just a bunch of like mid to ass wide receivers. Like that's
I would say Diggs is mid.
Diggs is mid to above mid if he's healthy, but he's also coming off the ACL, so who knows what he's going to be this year,
I really like Buffalo's defense though. And maybe this is just me. I thought they crushed the draft.
Yes, they had a lot of really good front. Well, how do you feel about Maxwell Hairston? Because that's the big one to me. I'm not super high on him. I like the front 7 piece they added though.
Well, I think if they move Hairston, the thing though that I'm confused on with him is Hairston was best as like a nickel guy last year, and they already have Taron Johnson.
Right, and Hairston he has a bit of Emmanuel Forbes syndrome where I'm like, this guy's a rail. He's
not that skinny.
He's not Emmanuel Forbes.
Emmanuel Forbes was like 160 at 6'2". I'm like, dude, eat a cheeseburger, please.
Emmanuel Forbes looked like a Kenyan sprinter. Like he wasn't. He didn't.
Marathon runner, I believe.
He looked like he was like if you put him at the Olympics, I'd be like, okay, he looks. Yeah, I know exactly what this this body archetype is, but he definitely did not look like an NFL.
He looks like Snoop Dogg, where he's like 6'4" and 160. Yeah. It's like, how do those legs support?
Hairston's a little bigger, but he needs to fill out his frame, man. Like he's not. And people say Sauce Gardner can't tackle. How is Maxwell Hairston going to tackle DK Met? Well, how's he going to tackle?
Well, how is Sauce going to tackle DK? You can say that about anybody that's skinny.
Sauce Gardner can't. He doesn't do it well.
Also, Hairston got hurt today, so
did he really? I didn't. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but, yeah. I'm not.
I will say though too, the defensive line was a big problem last year, and I know that I did find it funny they signed Michael Hogan and Larry Ogunjobi, and they got suspended for 6 games.
Yeah,
but you look at this draft up there, TJ Sanders, who I liked a lot. Landon Jackson, who him falling to the 3rd round where he did, I think is one of the best. It's like a Zaire Thomas level where it's like
Landon Jackson have alopecia, or is he just incredible?
He has alopecia, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Like Charlie Villanueva,
or like Josh Dobbs or Jordan Walsh.
Yeah. Well, you thought he was shaving on purpose?
I figured he had alopecia, but I'm like, he's either has alopecia or he's the baldest 23-year-old, 22-year-old.
Who also shaves his eyebrows? Yeah.
I didn't see the eyebrows. I didn't know that.
And Dayon Walker, I actually liked a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think the Jets supposedly, weren't they interested in him before Arian Smith?
Yeah, I think him and TJ Sanders might have been 2 guys they were targeting at or Landon Jackson. Both Jackson and Walker went like a couple of picks before the Jets.
And then, they ended up with, I think, 1 really good pick and 1 we'll see.
Yeah, I think AZ Thomas was like, maybe our front 7 guys are off the board. Azariah Thomas is just the best player available on our board at this point.
The X factor is Joey Bosa, who's also hurt.
He is immediately hurt, which not a shock. That's Joey Bosa we're talking about. It's a calf injury, I believe.
If he's healthy, though, this defense really frightens me.
Yes.
Because they can just they don't have like any really stars. Like Bosa used to be a star. I think now he's just a really good player at this point.
For the 6 games he'll play, yeah.
But if he plays 10 games and he gets 6 sacks, I think that's a good 1-year contract thing. Like, they don't have any real stars on this defense. I don't think Matt Milano maybe, but he's hurt a lot. Like, if they just send wave after wave after wave of guys at you.
Yeah.
And I think that depth is really going to help things. I think that was their problem last year. They got hurt like crazy last year.
Injuries were a big problem last year.
But now that I think they've solved that in a really big way. And obviously, once you have Allen as a force multiplier, I think really, if you had to ask me right now, I think the Bills probably win like 13 games.
Yeah.
I really don't see too many huge flaws with this team. I don't think they have quite the edge of like Kansas City, Baltimore, or Philly. Or maybe Detroit. I think they're maybe like in the entire league number 5 if I had to rank every team. But sure. They just have something everywhere. Yeah, they could use maybe one more star wide receiver, I think, to really move up a tier. But it's a well-run team that just finds guys everywhere. And that's concerning for the Jets too, because when the Jets eventually get that good to where they can challenge Josh Allen and the Bills again, they're building something that I think the way that this looks actually is a little bit more sustainable than it was in the last couple of years.
The defense was a big problem with the Bills last year. And a lot of that was injuries. They had a ton of injuries across the board, as they have had the last couple of years. I think that they really did a great job fixing that defensive line, as we talked about. Ed Oliver is a really good player. Daquan Jones is very good. Like you said, they don't really have any stars, but I mean, Greg Rousseau, I think, is still he's probably one of the more underrated edge rushers in the league. People do not talk about him enough. He is a very good player, as somebody else speeds by your house at the moment.
What is going on out there right now?
Whenever Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi come back, that's extra depth. You got AJ Epinesa in there. You have whatever you get out of Joey Bosa. And then all the rookies, TJ Sanders, Deion Walker, Landon Jackson. They have Dwayne Carter, who was a third-round pick last year, Javon Solomon.
Oh, yeah, from Duke, right?
Yeah, their D-line is stacked. So while I don't trust Joey Bosa to stay healthy and they're going to be without Hoyt and Ogunjobi for the first 6 games of the season, they still have the depth to survive all of that because their depth on the defensive line is excellent. Beyond that, I do have some question marks. In theory, Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard should be one of the best linebacker duos in the NFL. In theory.
But
Milano
they get hurt a lot.
With a lot of injury issues. Bernard missed some time due to injury last year, and to my knowledge, I don't believe he played at Terrell Bernard standards last year as well when he was healthy. So I do wonder what that linebacker duo looks like in 2025. They also just signed Shaq Thompson to add to that room, but once again, we're talking about guys who play 3 games a year. That's Shaq Thompson at this stage. I think he's played a combined
the worst baseball player ever, Shaq Thompson.
He played baseball.
You ever heard that story about him?
He played baseball?
He played in the minor leagues with the Red Sox, like when he was in college kind of thing. He was one of those guys. And he was in like the Gulf Coast League. He went 0 for 39 with 37 strikeouts.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Tyler
bad.
Murray, he is not.
Look, Shaq Thompson played 10 years with the Panthers, which amazingly, it's been 10 years. I think he's played like 6 games over the last 2 years combined. But I don't think any Bills fan was shocked when they signed him because every former Panthers player feels like ends up in Buffalo. But my bigger concern for them, I don't love their secondary. I'm still a non-believer there. Christian Benford is a great player. We're talking about underrated dudes around the league. He might be the most underrated player on this entire Bills team. People do not talk enough about Christian Benford because he was not a top pick. I believe he was a 6th or 7th rounder. Like he was a late pick. He is their best defensive back.
Beat out Kaiir Elam, who was a first-round pick in the same draft.
He is their best. Dude, where would they be without Benford? Because that secondary would be like that made the Kaiir Elam miss so like not mean as much because at least they had Benford to lean on. But outside of him, I mean, Taron Johnson, when he's healthy, has been a really good nickel corner. He wasn't quite as good last year.
He's in that Michael Carter tier of nickel corners.
Yeah, I believe he had a Michael Carter-like season last year, though, where he was banged up, and when he was healthy, didn't play particularly well. So there's concerns there. And I'm not super high on Maxwell Hairston. And outside of him, there's not a lot that they got there. They brought back Tre'Davious White, but once again, Tre'Davious White in the year 2025 is, maybe he plays 6-7 games, and he's probably not going to play at a super high level. And then outside of that, man, I mean, they drafted Dorian Strong in the 6th round. Dane Jackson.
He was one of my guys. I had like a top 80 grade on him.
Really?
I really like Dorian Strong.
Okay, so maybe they get like a Benford.
His problem is, again, he's very skinny. I guess they have a type. He's very skinny, but he just clamps dudes.
Was he Virginia Tech? Was that where he was?
Virginia Tech, yeah.
That's right.
44, which is a weird but good corner number.
Yeah. And I don't love their safeties. I mean, Taylor Rapp, I think, is a solid player.
What's wrong with Taylor Rapp?
I know he's good. So I think Taylor Rapp's fine. He's a solid starting safety, and Cole Bishop is entering his 2nd year. But, DeMar Hamlin, still in the starting lineup. They drafted Jordan Hancock in the 5th round. I don't think their secondary is particularly great, and their pass defense was an issue last year. Their pass defense was a big issue, and I don't think they really improved it. So if there's one weakness on this Bills team outside of wide receiver, which I don't think wide receiver is even that big of an issue because I think Josh Allen is good enough to just carry them anyway. The one issue that I would be most concerned about would be their pass defense, and I don't think that's going to be an issue that costs them the division, but it is something that I think going into the playoffs, that would be something I'd keep an eye on.
Damar Hamlin, I've interviewed. Cool guy. They still have the ambulance from last year where they took a guy off in the ambulance and it had the number 3 and Hamlin on the back.
They stopped doing that because the optics were a little bad.
Oh, they got rid of the ambulance? Uh-oh.
It almost feels like a tribute to his death. Like that's what it feels. It feels like like this.
Remember when I believe it was Eloy Jimenez got hurt for the White Sox. He was an outfielder. Yeah, and they hung his jersey in the thing, and they're like, "We be with you, Lord, be with you." It's like, okay, he just messed up his knee.
I did not. I don't remember that. No, I missed that.
Yeah, they hung his jersey, and they had like a moment, not a moment of silence, but like a like a we're thinking about you. It's like, okay, he messed up his knee and crashes.
Yeah,
car on the highway outside my house that I keep hearing.
I think the optics with that Damar Hamlin thing were weird.
Before we end the show, how many games the Bills win, and how far do they go?
I think 13 is reasonable because the division stinks.
They might go. I think they're 6-0 easy in the division.
I think maybe the Patriots or somebody steal a game.
Maybe week 18 when if they got stuff locked up.
Yeah, it's hard to go undefeated. Like the NFL, weird shit happens every year. Like the Jets beat the Texans last season. Every year there are crazy upsets where I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense. So I always find it dumb to predict game by game. But yeah, I think 5 wins in division seems reasonable. 12, 13 wins overall seems reasonable. I think they make it to the AFC Championship game. I don't know if they progress beyond that because I'm not sure they can exercise their Chiefs demons, but they have the talent to. They're a great team.
I think roster-wise, they're better than the Chiefs right now.
Yes, and dare I say, Josh Allen is currently better than Patrick Mahomes, or at least played better the last couple of years, or at least obviously last year. I mean, undisputably was better than Patrick Mahomes.
Well, yeah, but
so I think there's no reason why Josh Allen can't defeat a Patrick Mahomes-led team other than voodoo magic. They haven't been able to do it yet, so they can't overcome their demons. I don't know.
You think they do any Taylor Swift adjacent stuff with Haley Steinfeld?
Oh, they could. Somebody brought that up in chat where it was mentioned that Allen got married. You realize
Aaron Rodgers got married too.
He does. So that means Josh Allen has now got a ring. He's official. Josh Allen got a ring before the whole Bills organization did.
Yeah, he's the only one with a bill. What was the old joke? It's what do you call Buffalo Bill with a championship ring? A thief. It's one of those.
Or now it's Josh Allen who got to marry is she a model? I don't know if she's technically a model.
Well, she's an actress.
I know she's an actress and a singer. I don't know if she's technically a model.
I'm sure maybe. Like a lot of them kind of vacillate in between, but she was in Sinners, which was excellent. And you should go see it.
I did not see it. I saw some viral clips. Maybe want to go see it. Not gonna lie.
It is in the truest sense of the word, just a cool movie. It's not like an all-time great, but it's a solid 9 out of 10. Awesome movie.
Sure.
That you should go see. So with that, now that movie review corner with Mike and Justin.
We shouldn't, but we should do
that. Movie reviews with Mike and Justin. We're going to call time on this episode of the Jet Press podcast. The winners. We have a 4-way tie in terms of XP.
Really? How does this XP thing work?
I think you get like 25, and if you start commenting, and you get more increments.
Okay.
I think we have a late winner. 100. Zachary Berner is the winner this time.
I think the Andy Reid comment he just made, this one here, where he said Andy Reid
might have done it.
Is better than Sean McDermott. I don't even know if I think Sean McDermott's a fantastic coach. I just think it's unfortunate they haven't been able to get over the hump, but I think he's a great coach.
And then Brian Sternbeck in second, Florida Jets in third, Mustard Overload in fourth, John Mundock fifth, and then Demarcation Brian Glick officially.
Sure.
Is in
I believe it's Mustard Overlord. I think you've been saying
Overlord or Overload. Oh, it is Overlord. Oh, I believe
it's Overlord. Yeah,
this guy just really liked French's, but no.
French's.
The mustard brand.
Dijon. Yeah, Dijon mustard. Yeah, okay, sure. That was
French's yellow mustard. So mustard talk with Mike and Justin. Thank you for tuning into the Jet Press podcast. You know where to find us on all the podcast platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast. And if you want to support the show, You could subscribe for free, like the stream for free.
Mm-hmm.
As Brian Sternbeck says, we get a 3-hour horror films every Sunday. That's a good one. That's a good one. Are you
a horror film guy?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That checks out.
Yeah.
Not a bad way. That tracks. I like watching horror movies with friends and like it's I feel like it's a social.
Oh, listen to this baby over here. Can't watch him by himself.
Oh, okay. I see how the immediate
is the dark too scary?
Now there's no way to like defend myself without it sounding I don't get scared by horror movies. It's more so I like seeing other people's reactions to it. Because I feel
like you don't like watching horror movies. You like watching other people watch horror
correct.
movies.
That's why I said it's a social experience for me. I don't gain enjoyment. I don't gain enjoyment really watching it myself because I'm not an adrenaline person. We've talked about this. I think we've talked about it before. I'm not like an adrenaline junkie at all. So like
it's not like you go jet setting to Peru every year.
But it's not for adrenaline. I'm not doing it to like I'm not a roller coaster guy for that same reason. Like I don't really.
Oh, that's weak.
I'm not scared of
man.
I'm like, I have a weird opinion on I know we're going off topic here. I have a weird opinion on roller coasters. It is like I am indifferent to them. They don't do anything for me. I don't get scared, but I don't really get excited about going on them.
He just sits with his hands folded.
Yes, legitimately, yeah. Except if I'm with friends, and then I get into it, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is so fun, right, guys?
But Justin, any final thoughts on this episode?
Brian says, "Go watch Star Wars." Finally, we must have talked about this on the show. Then I've never watched Star Wars, so that's yeah.
I give this guy recommendations.
I missed the boat on that though. Like you have to watch that as a kid. I wouldn't enjoy it.
Boat? No,
I wouldn't appreciate it now. I never watched it as a kid, so I wouldn't appreciate it now.
That sounds like an excuse.
And he says, "Go watch." I've also never watched any of the John Wick movies, so now I'm just making myself an enemy here. Those are my final thoughts. I don't know. You know what it is? It's the middle of June. It's a beautiful day out. You know what I'm going to do instead of go watch Star Wars? I'm going to go out and I don't know, go for a run or play some basketball or something. I don't know. I feel like I want to get some exercise.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Shit. All right. I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually do it. Anyway, okay. Thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter @ByMikeLuciano. Follow me on Twitter, Justin Fried. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also become a member today, as Mike mentioned at the top of the show. It is 99 cents, and it's a great way to get your comments prioritized in chat and help support the show. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That's Mike Luciano. See you guys next time.
Go watch Star Wars if you haven't.